There we go. Ah, there we go. Bass heads, what's good, man? Y'all in for a treat today. Francine wouldn't let us be great last week, but we being great this week. Well, we were great last week. We just weren't with you because I had no electricity. But yeah, man, we're in for a treat today. We have got the fantastic Ashling Cole with us today, and you're not gonna want to miss out on this conversation. So look, if you got some young musicians, some old musicians, some people that want to be musicians, you need to go grab them right now and tell them to come over to TED Talks Bass so we can talk about it. We're talking about what singers are looking for in a bass player. All right. We're going to be looking at some real practical insights and practical information for the blue collar bass players who it doesn't matter what your skill level is or what the genre is. Let me tell you, we appreciate you being here and we welcome all questions. So light that chat up, light it up, light it up. You can also show your love by way of super chats. If you have challenges finding the super chat button, one of the mods will help you out with that. But there's a little dollar sign down in the chat box below. Today's sponsor is Songmaster Pro, the musician's learning assistant. I love this tool. It's what I use all the time, currently diving deep into it for some pretty challenging gigs I have coming up. You can get AI track separation, phrase training, key trainer, and you can generate and edit chord charts. Now, before I bring our guest on today, I have to read this bio because it's just like, it's so much to remember, and she is just super, super dope. So, Ashling Cole is a powerhouse vocalist known for her soulful performances in genres ranging from R&B to gospel to funk. She gained widespread recognition as lead vocalist for the legendary bassist Larry Graham's band, Graham Central Station. Her dynamic stage presence and ability to connect emotionally with her audience have made her a sought-after singer, performing alongside iconic musicians such as Prince, Dave Koz, Sheila E., Marcus Miller, and so many more. With a career that spans live performances, studio recordings, and collaborations with world-class artists, Ashling's voice and artistry continue to leave a lasting impression in the music world. Simply put, this is a woman who knows a thing or a thousand about what singers desire from bass players. Listen, the whole inspiration behind this is we are asking, as bass players, as musicians on various different instruments, we're asking the right questions to the wrong people. And so I'm so excited to have somebody who knows the game and is going to give y'all some game. Y'all ready? If you're ready, say I'm ready. Ashling Cole, what's up? I can't hear you.
On mute. I'm on mute.
There
I'm
you
so
are.
excited to get on here. I forgot to unmute myself.
Don't
What's
mute
going on,
yourself.
good people? Hello, Ted. It's so good to see you on here. I'm
You too.
I'm just excited to have this conversation. I literally was going through my phone and I'm like, who could I send this? Which bass players could I send this to? And the list is so long. I can't wait to just really share, even just the bass players that are in my phone. And so I've invited people like Jerry Jordan, the great Jerry Jordan here in the Bay Area, Rashawn Odell, Andrew Goucher, Tim Bailey, Garrett Body out in Chicago. So I'm excited to see where we go with this conversation. So thank you so much for having me. This is
Listen,
awesome.
I have questions written down, but I know that the conversation is just going to go where it's going to go. And look, y'all in the chat, don't just sit there quiet. You don't get this chance often, so we want to ask questions. If you're a bass player or a musician on any instrument, if you are an inspiring bass player, get in here and ask some questions. But Ash, I'm gonna go on and start with one of the ones that I have queued up for you. All right.
Okay.
And look, listen, you know what? Let's audible. You named a lot of bass players. Now I said Larry Graham, and I think most people know you because with Larry you're right in front, right? But you have worked
Right.
with. Just go down the list of some other bass players. You mentioned Goucher. You've been on stage
I,
with Prince. We're gonna get into that.
I don't even think I can off the top of my head. I had to literally make a list because I was like, I'm not gonna remember all these people. I mean, I remember if y'all, like charge it to my head and not my heart because I have worked with some of the greatest, really the greatest bass players of all time, in my opinion. Of course, you've mentioned Larry Graham. He is the quintessential bass player as far as I'm concerned. I did get to work with Prince, who also, he's known for being a guitarist, instrumentalist, but of course he played bass as well. And then there's, like I mentioned before, Rashawn Odell, who is the musical director for Brian Culbertson, who was actually working on a Tina Marie tribute for me, which
Nice.
is so exciting, putting that together. Of course, mentioned Garrett Body in Chicago, and he's an amazing, really, gospel music, but plays everything and has played on a few of my records. We wrote a song together called Better Days. Marcus Phillips, one
How
of
can we
my
forget Marcus
favorite.
Phillips? Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Marcus Phillips is just, I mean, those one of those strong R&B, like true grit R&B is going to give you all the bells and whistles, all the embellishments is going to actually make you feel like you're in a full, R&B experience. And he's played and toured the world, with everybody. Nate Kearney. Nate Kearney is a very well-known jazz or smooth jazz bass player. Of course, he plays everything, but I've had the pleasure of working with him and touring with him with Dave Koz on the Dave Koz cruise, and he's just a hoot. If you've ever met him, you're in for
I
like an
have
all
not.
night an all night experience. But he's amazing. Tim Bailey, I mentioned, who is a new friend, really just in the last 10 years, just such a sweet spirit and amazing bass player. He can play anything. There's
Yeah.
nothing that Tim Bailey can't play. And just like one of those people that when you're on stage with him, you don't have to worry that area is going to be taken
Let's
care of.
let let's go there.
Okay,
Let's go there. And before we do,
because I'm not even halfway through the
I
list.
know the list is long, but I do want to mention Dewey Tucker. Every
Yes,
chance
come
I get, I
on.
want to mention the name of Dewey Tucker because this was a young bass player who was really on his way and taken away from us really senselessly, way too soon. And
Yes.
I just every so often I'll just like post a video of Dewey Tucker and just say because people need to remember who this cat was. YouTube was
Yes.
just kind of getting to be a thing, and had he been allowed to stay on this earth, everybody would be talking about him the same way they're talking about Mono Neon and everybody else. He
Yes.
was on his way. But you were mentioning
Yeah.
something about not worrying about bass
Hmm.
players, and then my first question is, what are the top three things that you look for in a bass player musically?
I mean, it's going to be pocket for sure. Like how deep are your pockets? Are you locked into the drummer? Are you trying to lock into the drummer? Are you trying to stand out? Are you in the Did you and the drummer have a conversation before the
Mm,
gig? Are
mm,
you invested in being part of the rhythm section, or are you just invested in yourself being on stage with whoever the artist is?
all right.
That's a big thing for me because the great Mel Brown wrote a book.
Zero
I
to
can't remember.
Sideman. Zero to
Zero
Sideman.
Zero to
Great
Sideman.
book. Yep.
Exactly. Great book, really about being in that supportive role as a sideman. If somebody would take that and think that that's a negative title or connotation, but for a singer, it's so important to have that on stage. So really, your pocket. Musicality, your choices, your transitions, are you embellishing over an ad lib section that the
Mm,
singer is singing in? Are you overplaying? Are you anticipating where the singer's going to go? Or are you just playing, mindlessly or egotistically,
mm, mm,
um, over the singer, is really important because we can, I love a bass solo. I love a good bass solo, and
mm,
I will go back there with you
mm,
and either go hang out back there with you during a solo or bring you to the front because I feel I'm a bass head.
mm,
Like
mm.
I am a bass head. I can, I can somewhat talk, pickups and spoobinga, right? Just sort, sort of, but I feel like an honorary bass head. And so I want to enjoy the experience
Well, I mean,
with
as
the
much
bass
as
player.
much time, for a lot of us, especially folks in the funk and R&B realm, just released a video on the evolution of Prince's bass players, and
Yes.
I purposely put Larry Graham last because everybody sources, cites Larry Graham
Yeah.
as an influence. You cannot play R&B and funk music and say I don't like Larry Graham or I've never heard of Larry Graham. It's impossible because he is the blueprint, right?
Right.
So of course you're an honorary basshead. You've been in that space. You're a singer's singer, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And
Thank you.
you said something about let me just back up just a wee bit and go back to this idea of us musicians asking questions of other musicians that are in the same instrument. It almost like leans towards, okay, you just want to have the things so that you can look cool for other musicians, right? And so you said something
Right.
about, are you embellishing over a vocal run? And what that makes me think about is like, we all kind of naturally feel fills in the same, 8 to 16 bar spot, right? And for me, musical maturity is when you say, you know what? I'm not going to play a fill here. I'm not going to play anything here because maybe the singer wants to do that. Maybe the guitar player wants to do that. And if everybody's doing it at the same time, it clashes. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
what I hear you say is that you're looking for like overall musical maturity.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of putting it. And that and as the bass player, you're an integral part of the sound. We could have drums and keys and guitar, but to me, I would rather have a bass guitar player than a lead guitar player in a band,
Mm-hmm.
if I have to choose one,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
because I need that bottom. I need that partnership to really drive the rhythm section. And
Right.
so yeah, so for sure, so pocket musicality. And here's the thing, when you hear a great bass player and you get throughout the whole song and maybe you haven't even really heard the bass player, maybe you haven't even noticed that they're there, and then all of a sudden you're going into the bridge or coming out of the bridge and they do this like this beautiful arpeggio or this amazing lick or something in that area, and you're like, man, who's
Mm-hmm.
that bass player?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't said who's that bass player right from the gate. Like, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
noticed. But when I hear that, and it's like, that to me is the magic where you
Mm-hmm.
can, like, you
Mm-hmm.
can you can be right, like, below the surface
Mm-hmm.
and carrying the whole band, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the glue
Mm-hmm.
between drums, keys, vocal. You're literally the glue holding it all together. And then you get to a point in the song and you just like explode with showing your musicality. To me, that is that's so beautiful. And different bass players do it differently. So
Absolutely.
um
Well,
yeah,
well,
so those are really
go ahead.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Nope, you go ahead. I cut you off.
No, those are really the two, musicality things, pocket, and your choices, your transitions, and how you play. It doesn't have to do with your musicality, but attitude is everything. Like,
Sure.
are you here to be seen, or are you here to create a scene with the rest of the band? So that's sort of, that goes a long way with me.
Like if you take a simple bass line, there's several like really simple bass lines that I could think of, and um, you're playing. It's like, man, this is a really simple bass line, but take that bass line away, and I bet you people gonna miss it because it ain't there. You know what I'm saying? And even
Yeah.
if they don't have the vocabulary to say that. Now, you said something about attitude, and all these things kind of go into this maturity thing. So I asked you about the top three musical things that you look for in a bass player. Now I'm going to ask you, what are the top three professional attributes that you look in a bass player? It can be something super, little, but what are professional attributes you look for?
I mean, do you study? Have you studied the music? Did you just listen to it on your way to the gig? Some bass players are that gifted. And let me just actually say this. Some musicians are that gifted, and even some singers. And I fell into that trap for years, that I would lean so heavily on my gift and my ability to improvise
Mm-hmm.
and my ability to just catch on. Like some people really have that knack for just showing up, and then me on a bad day is better than somebody else on their best day. But that can be a trap,
Mm-hmm.
because then you learn, oh, well, if I just put an hour into this music, it'll be enough. And I'll just show up and shine, and everybody loves me. And so it won't matter that I missed this change, or it won't matter that I wasn't really locked into the drummer. It won't matter that I couldn't connect on stage and I was sort of a little detached from, what was really going on. So are you studying? Do you ask questions? I mean, I'll use this as an example. Tim Bailey just texted me today. I mentioned him earlier, and he's playing for a Natalie Cole tribute that I'm doing in November
Andrew Goucher
at
says, "Hey, biscuit." Goucher in the house.
Absolutely. And let me just pause and say our condolences for Goucher. For those of you that don't know, his sister just recently passed away, just very sadly.
Oh
And
no.
Goucher, we're just yet praying your strength, and we just love you, and all the things, all the things.
Condolences,
So
condolences, brother.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so Tim Bailey just texted me today. Our Now the date is September 18th,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Today. And our gig is not until November 4th. But he's texting me today to say, "Hey, have you put the set together? Do you have charts yet for the music?" That to
Mm-hmm.
me is like
Mm-hmm.
music to my ears. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for
Mm-hmm.
caring enough a few months ahead of time, even. And that's one of the great things that I love to see. You don't have to necessarily take initiative. You don't, because I'm going to be on my business and I'm going to get you the music and all
Sure.
that stuff. But that extra, hey, just checking in type of thing, it just adds to the confidence of that bass player. And so yeah, are you studying? Are you timely? And are you timely with rehearsals? Are you showing up 15 minutes late, and then you want to talk and socialize for 15 or 20 minutes, and now we're 45 minutes into the
Right.
rehearsal, we haven't
Right.
played a note?
Right.
um
Right.
that there's this kind of common sense things, but maybe people don't know. Maybe people
Well,
don't
you
know.
know what? You said something, about gifting. And we know a lot of gifted people, right?
Yes.
I see some people and I'm like, yeah, they just gifted. Me, I got to really work hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to, I don't know about anybody else, but I got to get in the shed. You know what I'm saying? And I will tell anybody, I will know 100% of the songs that you send me right now.
Come on.
You know, I will know the ones you send me. You call something on the gig, I may know it, I may not know it. Varying levels of knowing. But we were talking the other night about, you know, bass players don't really have the luxury of you know, the old fake 'em outo. You know what I'm saying? When the bass player doesn't know the changes, the bass player doesn't know the changes and everything is wrong. Everybody else kind of has this luxury of being able to sprinkle some I kind of know it fairy dust on on stuff. But the bass player, because the bass player is the link between rhythm and harmony, really does not have that luxury. And you know, I think it's important to understand when you don't have it like that. I'll give you a quick story about a drummer. It's a funny story to me. Maybe not to him, but it's a funny story to me. You know, we're doing this 3-night-a-week gig, and God bless him, this was like carrying a bag of bricks up a hill, like for hours every night. And he keeps talking to the keyboard player. And I'm like, look, man, I appreciate you getting advice from the keyboard player, but you really need to be talking to me, right?
Come on.
And then we get to the end of the gig, and I said, you know, listen, man, I know you was asking for advice, and I'm gonna give you some tough love here. Maybe you shouldn't smoke weed before the gig. And my man wanted to fight, like physically fight. I'm like, bro, I'm old enough to be your father. I ain't fighting nobody. But some people can do that. Sir, you are not one of those people. So don't try.
Well, that's also on my list, but I wasn't going to say that. But now that you bring it up,
listen,
I guess,
we can bring it down.
I guess, no person or no subject is off limits. Okay.
Well, some
so,
are
yeah,
off. But yeah,
right.
But that's in that whole realm of professionalism, right? Like I can't speak for somebody, you know, what you do, whatever habits you got, you know, everybody's got something. Okay, maybe not something like that, but when it starts interfering with the rest of what a group of people is trying to build, it is problematic.
Yeah, and you know, there's some bands and there's some circles and there's some genres that's okay. Sure. That you're gonna everybody's gonna, you know, smoke before they go on stage backstage. So that's then alcohol too. I see you, Tiny. Absolutely. Alcohol too. So yeah, are you governing yourself? Are you able to govern yourself accordingly? And what's the level of the gig? It does matter. Sure. Like I know people will say, well, you know, if there's 5 people here, we're going to play like it's 10,000. Yeah, you do want to have that attitude, but also what's the gig? Are you just in shorts and flip-flops and we're just chilling by the pool? Or are we in suits and we're playing at somebody's wedding who never gets a second chance to do this, you know, special one day, or an anniversary party or a birthday party, or you're at Madison Square Garden, or it depends on the stage. So I think that if you can practice that professionalism on the small stage, that's going to get you set up for the big stage. And you know, some people say how you treat one thing is how you treat all things. And that goes, it goes a long way. If you can treat this small gig that's, you know, $250, and then treat it the same way that you're going to treat a $2,500 gig, you know, and beyond that, even beyond that. So yeah, so definitely professionalism. And I think, you know, that communication is key. Yeah. Are you able to communicate that? Like you just said, like, are you're over there communicating, but you need to be locked in with the rhythm section. So are you communicating, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, is it okay if I do this, or is it all right if I take liberties here? Hey, can we put a bass solo on this? Right. Now don't come into the gig and it's your first time and you don't know anybody and you're making demands and all the rest of that. Like just take a deep breath and you know, acclimate to the situation. But I think it's great to partner, come in as an equal partner. Because I even wear a shirt that says musician. I'm a vocalist, but I consider myself a musician. I am a vocal musician. Right. And I want to be part of the cool kids club. I want to feel like I'm part of the band. And then to me, those are the best bands, for sure.
Well, you're talking about treating small gigs. Now, That's a good point to touch on right there. A lot of musicians are always talking about pay and things like that. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Because sometimes the pay is not so good.
True.
I've heard people say, don't take $100. Don't take $100 gigs. And I'm like, depends. It depends. I don't think few things in this world are few things in this world are black and white, right? There's some things that are, there are many things that are not. And here's what I mean when it comes to this. You or I have worked our way into a space where we say, nah, I'm not going to do the $100 gig. I'm not coming out for the $100 gig. There was a lot of $100 gigs
that got you there.
That got to that point. You see what I'm saying? So you got
right.
You have cats coming straight out of. There was a situation I know of about a year ago, and some folks were looking for singers, and I mean we're talking about singers that, hey, nobody cares that you went to this school or that school. I'm being very careful with my words, but what they wanted to charge was like, you are out of your mind. Not only are you out of your mind, but this gig the pay doesn't suck. And it's also going to open doors for you. So maybe the pay isn't always money.
Yeah, and let me just say something about that, because if Andrew Goucher calls me and asks me, to sit in with him at the Bass Bash at NAMM, and there's no pay or there's a couple dollars pay, he could put $20 in my pocket and I'm going to say yes. Right. Because it's like the experience. It's the experience for me. Right. Now, on the flip side, I don't think it's fair for people to say, hey, we need you to do this gig. It's going to be great exposure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's not fair.
Absolutely.
Like that's not fair, because first of all, you can't determine for me what exposure I need. You can't make that determination for me. Now, I might decide to take it because I have a new project coming up, and I say, hey, can we play one of the songs off of my new project, and can I sell CDs at the gig? Okay, right. Great. So then, right. If you're a bass player and you have a solo project and you ask the singer, hey, is it okay if I bring CDs? Right. Absolutely. Right. If you ask me, absolutely, 100%. Bring what you got. For sure.
Well, that goes back into that whole partnering thing you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Can it be a win-win? You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
Yeah. And, some people will say yes and some people will say no. It will literally depend on, on so many factors, too many factors to list. But you can make the gig, the value of the gig is not always monetary.
Right.
The value of the gig, it doesn't, you could have it be that way. You could demand, X amount of dollars. But I would, free barbecue gigs. Yeah. See, like if you offer me, you know what I'm saying? If you offer me a plate of barbecue in Memphis, speaking of Memphis, I was just in Memphis this past week, and I met a new bass player. His name is DJ, and we had never played together, and he was awesome. He sat back there completely unassuming, sat down the whole gig. I mean, we were outside and he had his sunglasses on, and I was like, okay, cool. We outside. It's a festival. I'm not tripping.
They got some tough boys in Memphis.
I don't need you to parade back and forth on the stage. But let me tell you, when he locked in, he was just locked in for the whole gig.
Yeah, they got some tough boys out there in Memphis. They tough. Hey, the next time you go to Memphis, speaking of barbecue, now I got hungry.
I didn't get barbecue, by the way. I'm really disappointed. So shout out to Memphis. Y'all owe me. Y'all owe me a plate of barbecue.
There's a place called Cozy Corner.
Okay.
Cozy Corner in Memphis. I'm telling you right now, the next time you go down there, my dad lives in Memphis, and is it Cozy? Is Cozy Corner crazy? I'm pretty sure it's Cozy Corner.
Okay,
we talking about something else now. I done got hungry. I
But
just start thinking about barbecue.
right.
Do you know Jack? You must know Jackie Clark down in Memphis, right?
I I don't, not personally.
Okay, I'm listen. I know y'all know some of the same people. Jackie didn't play with some of everybody, but that's the homie, and
Yes.
he is just absolutely killing. Let's go back.
Yes.
Let's go back a little bit.
Yes.
We have to talk about because I know there are people that are here right now that want to know, and I get just like the time that you spent with Larry Graham, and by
Yeah.
and by proxy with Prince, and I really, as much as you can share, as much as you feel comfortable about sharing about not just the bass, but all the things musically, even spiritually, that you got in that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, there's no musician that has influenced my career more than Larry Graham. And I've played with amazing people, but Larry Graham really was the gateway to all those people. He was the gateway to Sheila E. He was the gateway to Dave Koz. He was the gateway to Prince. And so many people. Andrew Goucher. I know Goucher because of Larry Graham. And to be able to have that respect in the industry that I have is
Mm-hmm.
because of the respect that he has in the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was afforded to me just by association.
Mm-hmm.
But early on in our, 2009, we started working together, and I was told he was putting his band back together and he was looking for a new singer. And so I was asked to audition. I didn't know at the time that I was the only person that auditioned. I'm thinking like, there's people all across the nation, the world, whatever, that would be auditioning for, the new reinvention of Graham Central Station. But
Mm-hmm.
it turned out that I was the only the only person. And there was speculation when the guitar player, shout out to Wilton Rabb, um, amazing, Bay Area guitar player, and he's the whole reason that I even was in the band. And Graham, after having great, the original singer, Graham Central Station, Chocolate, shout out to her. Those are big, big, big shoes to fill. And so when Wilton described me to Graham, Graham was like, um, and I say clear person. And so singing funk music,
Yeah.
and that there was some hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
Likely, I mean, rightly so. So, and then we had a session, we had an audition session, and immediately he was like, absolutely, you're in. And so it was just for me to be, my authentic self and show up and all of that. And then of course he's like, well, what's your nickname? Because historically everybody has a nickname in Graham Central Station. And so Wilton had put a band together named called Three Piece and a Biscuit. And so shout out to anybody who ever came to any of our 12 shows that we did. Um, Three Piece and a Biscuit. And so then I became Biscuit just because of the name. And so I said, well, I guess my nickname is Biscuit. And he said, yep, that's it. And so chocolate and then biscuit. And so it was like
Sure.
a natural transition.
Sure.
But Graham was always gracious. I was very quiet on stage at first because it's Larry Graham. Like, this is his show. It's not my show. I might be the singer, but this is an instrumentalist as the front person. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just a backup singer. That was always my attitude. I'm just a backup singer. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would, stand in the back, and he taught me how to play funk box. And so that was really cool to then now be part of the rhythm section as well. But little by little, every show he would kind of push me in front a little bit. I noticed that he would have the back line, set my rig up a little closer to the front every time. And so little by little, he was edging me out into the front. And then to be able to sing "I Can't Stand the Rain" as
Mm,
a big feature in the show was really amazing. But behind the scenes, I mean, Larry Graham is who you hope he is.
mm, mm,
He is the man that you hope he is.
mm.
Who he presents himself as is who he is at 2 o'clock in the morning when we've had no sleep and we're getting on a bus to drive to the next town. He is that way at 6 in the morning over coffee. He is that way, when we show up to the airport and our flight is delayed and we get into Amsterdam at midnight and there's two guys, true story, two guys wheeled a luggage cart full of merchandise up to him. They waited in the airport for him. And it was boxes and boxes of CDs and cassettes and, vinyl and shirts and like, I mean, all this stuff. And we were already like 2 hours delayed in our travel, but he stayed in that airport for an hour and talked to them and signed every single piece of
Wow.
merch that they
Wow.
brought
Wow.
to him, every single piece. And I just remember being so like impatient. And I'm like, can we just get to the hotel? Like I didn't understand. And I after working with him for so many years, I realized, and there was a reason behind why he did that. And I won't mention any names, but he had a run-in with a very famous guitar player that he looked up to.
Mm,
And this guitar player completely dismissed him and
mm,
was rude and, not kind. And
mm,
that stuck with him. And he said, I never want to be that guy.
mm.
And so these two guys, they were able to have their time with Larry Graham. And he was always like that, always gracious to the fans. And the second thing that he really taught me is to always look the part, always show
Mm.
up looking the part. When I tell you Larry Graham is clean, I'm talking
Yeah.
about clean.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about sweatsuit clean. I'm talking about suit clean. I'm talking about a trench coat clean, boots clean, hat clean with the feather, like clean from head to toe. And he really taught me that because I used to, because you knew me in the baseball cap and
Mm-hmm.
jeans,
Mm-hmm.
era.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really care how I showed up. If I showed up, then I'm just there, but I didn't really care about my appearance. And he really taught me, like, no, take the extra time. It's not that big of a deal to take an extra 15 or 20 minutes and just put on some makeup, do your hair, like put on a nice outfit, actually put on a pair of earrings.
You know what's
And
crazy is I think that way about traveling, right? And I
yeah,
like I know some people feel, they got to be comfortable. Me, when I'm traveling, especially if I'm traveling for music, I'm like, man, I just don't know who I might meet. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right.
I just don't know
That's
who I
right.
might meet to that might be a life changing thing, and I'm looking like I just rolled out of bed. So anyway, I definitely now through through Larry Graham, you meet Prince,
Mm.
and I know that you told me this first encounter with Prince. Is that something that you can share
Yeah,
with the people? Because
absolutely.
I got being a Prince head. I'm like, man, Prince walked by me one time when I was in the MPG Music Club and it was a sound check, and he walked by, and it's probably my imagination. I'm sure it's my imagination, but in my mind, he did like that. He said, "What's up?" and
Right.
I was like, "What's up? What's up?"
As you would, right?
Yeah, like,
Super casual.
"What's up?" Really,
Oh
really
my
wild.
goodness.
I got to get my cool points back after that one. But
Man.
tell us this story about the first time, your first encounter with Prince.
Man, so first time I met him was at the the blues club in New York. Why am I'm not thinking of
BB King's, right?
BB King's?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they closed it down.
Yep,
That one is actually closed down now.
yep.
But BB King's in New York City, and we were there. And you work with Larry Graham, you hear rumors. You hear rumors that he and Prince are close, and yeah, Prince sometimes would just show up on a gig, and Graham would say, Yeah, I knew he was at a gig one time because our sound was jacked. And then next thing I know, all of our sound was good. And so I know Prince came in and went behind the board real quick and then left. Like they had a little relationship
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, a friendship like that. So we're backstage and I'm in the mirror and I'm doing my makeup and I'm 5'10", so I'm pretty tall. And Prince was 5 foot, almost nothing, right?
Right, right.
And so I just see somebody behind, I'm in the mirror, so I see somebody walk behind me, but they're here. And I was like, no way. Like, no way. And then same thing. Play it cool. Just be cool. Just be cool. And then I look over and it's Prince, and he's over there, greeting Graham and his wife Tina. And Graham said, "Hey, Biscuit, come meet Prince." And so I did, and he shook my hand, and I was like, I did wash my hand, like people would say, "Oh, I wouldn't wash my hand for a week if he shook my hand," but no. So yeah, he shook my hand, and we had a conversation. Then he jumped on stage with us that night at BB King's, and the fans got something extra.
Yeah.
And then the next time I saw him, I think was when he invited us to be on the Welcome to America tour in 2011
Yeah, yeah.
or 2010 or something like that. And then that was great. And so then the next time I saw him, then he gave me a hug. And then the next time I saw it, then he would, just give me a glance or a nod, or I just felt acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
I felt acknowledged. But nothing prepared me. And I really have to tell this story because Prince changed the trajectory, easy for me to say, of my career. One night we were in Amsterdam and he was doing one of his famous after parties, and it was Mint Condition and Graham Central Station and Prince on tour together for the Welcome to America tour. And he invited us to this after party. And like, you can't talk about the after party. For those of you that know, they would put it on a piece of paper and somebody would like put it in your pocket or something. Like, you couldn't talk about it and you couldn't write it down or anything because there were always people trying to find out where these private after parties were. And so, we showed up, we had just played a 3-hour set, Mint Condition played an hour and whatever. We played 2+ hours, Prince played 2+ hours, and it's 4 a.m. and we're walking into this club. And he called us up, Graham Central Station. We played, an hour. I think we played another hour. And then when everybody sat down, I left the stage and kind of stood to the side because I've never been to one of these after parties, right? I'm geeked just like everybody else is. And so I'm standing on the side of the stage and I'm just watching, the band and next thing I know, Prince like looks over to my direction and does one of these. And I look behind me to see who he's talking to because surely it's not to me. And I realized that he was calling me out to sing with his band. And so he called me out on stage. And that was the first time it happened. And then from there, anytime that he saw me in the audience on a show, he would call me up on stage to sing with him. But it was that moment where I was like, man, y'all can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing about you can't sing or who do you think you are? I know who I am.
Right.
And that just solidified in me, wow, girl, keep being your authentic self. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep being your authentic self,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work
Tiny
out.
wants to know, did you look him in the eye?
Of course I did. I didn't. Wait, that's the first question. And the second most popular question that people ask me is, what did he smell like?
What did he smell like?
He didn't have a smell. He did not have a smell. And when he called me up on stage, we would be on the same microphone. And again, I'm 5'10", and if I wear heels, which I did back then, I was 6'2", 6'3".
Oh, I've seen you up there with him, been like a girl back going.
So I was in a full squat. Like, I'm in a full squat to be on the microphone with him. And so we would be cheek to cheek right on the same microphone several nights. And so that was just an amazing experience. But yeah, it was just a validation that I needed, that has carried me through, this entire time. And not an ego boost, not, let's be real clear that you can let moments like that go to your head. That's the opposite of, the reason behind it, or the purpose behind it. The purpose is
I
really,
think being seen by someone
yeah,
at that stature is pretty special, and a lot of people don't get a chance to be seen like that. I have a very dear
yeah,
friend. We were talking today about her job and praise and things like that, and she was kind of feeling like she was fishing for compliments. I'm like, nah, who doesn't want to be seen? There are
yeah,
people who do a thing their whole lives and miss out on those moments, and when you get a chance to be seen by someone at that level, that was
yeah.
a really
That
bad
was
that was a bad
no,
joke.
that was bad.
A bad
That was
joke.
bad.
That was a bad joke.
Never do that again.
I'll
Never,
never do
never
that
do
again.
that
I'll never
again.
do that again. But to be seen by someone on that level is pretty special.
Yes.
Now, having been like you have done all the things, and I need to talk about the Bay Area, because for those watching who don't know, I did grow up. I will tell anybody this. I grew up in New Orleans, but I really became a man in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And the connection between the Bay Area and New Orleans is so tight. Oakland, particularly, is so tight. But also, Prince really mined a lot of musicians a lot of music through that Sheila E connection. You got Levi, Miko, Bonnie Boyer, rest in peace. Who am I missing? It's just everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So many musicians.
I had
for
a
sure.
question. I had a question in there, wrapped up in there. I lost my train of thought. It's the gray hair that neither one of us.
You talking to me about gray hair?
Neither one of us had this when we met. Neither one. Also, you were talking about Mint Condition. I don't know if I told you this. You remember the NAMM show 2014?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going off somewhere, going to eat, and I think I see Brian Dean. Right?
Okay. Yes.
I think I see Brian Dean, so I'm gonna walk up to him and I say, "Break yourself, fool!" And I grab him by his shoulders. It's not Brian Dean. It's Stokely from Mint Condition.
Get out of here.
I am not lying. The brother turned around. I said, "Pretty brown eyes."
You didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I was like, bro, I thought you was somebody else, bro. My bad.
You lucky security didn't come tackle you to the ground.
You know, NAMM, we were outside. We were like, people were like meandering, going to eat and stuff
hilarious.
like that. So, it's
That is
SoCal,
hilarious.
so everybody's like just kind of like lightweight regular or whatever. So anyway, somebody is
and shout out to Ricky Kinchin, who is Mint Condition's bass player.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Ricky.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I can't even read. Oh, somebody's telling me about a solo that I played the other night. I hope this is a solo that I played the other night. It was pretty amazing. Thank you.
Nice.
Who is that? Who are you? Were you at the show? Were you at the gig the other night? I did I. Think so. Nice to be seen. I appreciate you. So you talked about a guy that surprised you, and that's one of my questions here. The guy in Memphis. What else surprises you about a bass player? What just makes you just go, I need that person's number. I need to somehow have them in my ecosystem, in my Rolodex, as it were.
Oh yeah. So my very first bass player in my own band, years ago. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but I didn't have my first band till I was 20 years old. No, 23 years old. I was 23 years old before I had my first band. And the bass player in that band was Uriah Duffy.
You doggy.
And he set the bar very, very high. Now, I saw him in a band with Zoe Ellis. Shout out to her. And I was like, I need him in what do I need to do to have him in my bands? And it was not only his musicality, but it was his showmanship.
Hell
And if
yeah,
you know
yeah.
Uriah, he is a showman.
He's a rock star for sure.
And he's a rock star in the long hair and you know, all the antics, but he has the chops to back up the antics. He's not all
Yeah.
antics. And so I absolutely loved having him. But you know, when I met Rashawn Odell, that was somebody that I was like, man, I want to have, you know, I want to do something to have a, you know, project that I can have him on. So we're doing a Tina Marie tribute together coming up in November. But yeah, Marcus Phillips was one of those people. I saw him playing. I was like, man, he is really good. And it's just I don't know, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's swag, it's grit, it's personality, but it's also like the coolness, the chops, the everything, that the outfit. I mean, you talking about Brian Dean. That's Brian Dean and I met. I was like, who is this guy with the hat turned to the side and the leather jacket and the boots? I said, oh, I need what is his number?
He keeps his shoes on these days. Quite.
He used to be barefoot.
Used to be,
exactly.
but that was a cool little, you know, everybody ain't got pretty feet like that. You know, to just be on gigs with their shoes off. Brian Dean. Yeah. So every time I mention the name Brian Dean, he's such a weirdo to me, and I say that in the most loving way. For those who don't know, I am a left-handed person, but I play bass like a right-handed person. I do everything like a right-handed person. Brian Dean is right-handed and plays left-handed. And I'm like, you are such a weirdo. Who would do that? Who would subject themselves to that? You got to spend more money on basses. You can't find no basses. All of that stuff. But he's a fantastic player. As well, Dewey Tucker.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Man. I know. It was so sad. It was such a loss. It was such a loss to the community. Absolutely. I definitely want to finish this list. I know we're winding down in our time, so I want to mention all of these bass players
because all the bass players, you know, is like
it is.
It's not
long.
like this. It's not.
It's long.
I reversed. So let me. I did go on the list.
So let me continue. Okay, so we mentioned. I'll start from the top for those of you that are just joining us. We mentioned Larry Graham, Rashawn Odell, Garrett Body, Marcus Phillips, Nate Kearney, Tim Bailey, Andrew Goucher. And next on the list, Raymond McKinley, who is Sheila E.'s bass player and just an all-around nice guy. I just love him, and I work with him often, so I couldn't not mention him on this list of bass players. The amazing Chris Walker. You all might not know him by name. He was he's an amazing bass player and fantastic singer. In fact, back in the day, he was an R&B singer, solo artist. He is doing so many things, but he was Al Jarreau's musical director for over 20 years. And so worked side by side with him. Fantastic bass player and just a very dear friend. Dwayne Smitty Smith. If y'all don't know Dwayne Smitty Smith, go ahead and you look him up. He has music out, just an amazing bass player. One of the OGs, one of the people that other bass players look up to. Jermone Randall. Jermone Randall is a North Carolina bass player. I met him in LA and he played for me on several gigs down in the Southern California area. Nice guy, great bass player. He's on tour, I think, with Michael Langton right now. And just an amazing bass player. Always has a good attitude, always looks good, always sounds good. Dan Parenti, I know you know who this is. Ted, shout out to Dan Parenti, who is a Bay Area guy, just a great bass player. I mentioned Ricky Kinchin of Mint Condition. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Marcus Miller, although I never got to play with him. He sat in with us with Larry Graham, but of course, amazing friend of Larry Graham and of mine. And finally, I'm going to mention Jerry Jordan. And I know that he's tuned in right now. And just Jerry Jordan, the Hawkins family, Love Center, Gospel Chops for days,
Mm,
and just somebody that has just always been on the scene. And Jerry Jordan is one of those quiet killers.
mm,
He's one of those, he may not say two words the entire night, but he has studied. He has not only studied the music, but he has studied you as the
mm,
singer. He has
mm,
studied your style as a
mm.
singer, and he's going to come in and be the most supportive that he can possibly be. And that's why he's still working.
You know,
That's
that's
why
a
people
that I
still call him.
we can't just skip over that. That's a huge thing that you just said. That's game right there. Is studying a singer.
Yeah.
We get caught up in everybody's got to eat and everybody's got to make a living, and sometimes that means you got to take every gig that comes your way, and it's hard, but man, when you can really get down and study what's really happening inside somebody's music is really special. Listen, I know
Yeah.
we're winding down, but I didn't ask. You've done. You were on Sunday's Best, and I
Mhm.
know that you're always doing music, and I don't want us to get off of here and not promote or get you to share anything that you're promoting at the moment. So let's talk about that. What do you got
Thank
going on?
you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I mentioned two big shows that I'm really, really excited about. Is November 4th, which is a Monday night. I'll be at Spaghettini in Southern California in Seal Beach, which is outside of Los Angeles, doing a Natalie Cole
Oh,
tribute.
nice.
And Tim Bailey will be on there. Tim Bailey, bass player, will be on there with me, Carnell Harrell, and some other folks that my mi familia. So I'm excited about that. So you can get tickets. Tickets available at spaghettini.com. And then the following weekend, November 10th, I will be helping to close out the Jazz Legacy Foundation Festival in Hampton, Virginia. The headliner that night is um, uh, I just completely blanked on his name. But anyway, I will be doing a Tina Marie tribute that night.
Nice.
And so I'm super excited about that. So that will be really great. And so many people will be there that weekend. And so you can get tickets to just one night. You can be there the whole week if you want. But those are two things that I'm really excited about um, coming up. You can follow me on social media. Instagram is where it's at for me. Things seem to keep going viral. People just, I don't know what it is. Like, I just am singing a song, and the next thing I know, it's got, 10 million views.
Hey,
I'm like,
listen,
okay.
come on.
So yeah, I'm just excited that my phone still rings. I'm
Yeah,
just happy that my
yeah.
phone still rings. I just got a call a couple weeks ago from Sheila E. We're going to be at Paisley Park on September 27th to do a fundraiser.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
my phone is still ringing. I really, really want to get Larry Graham back out on just just one more tour. Just
Yeah.
one more tour. So if you all are thinking good thoughts about bass players, include Larry Graham in that thought.
Yeah.
And let's just he's still relevant. He still has a sound that people want to hear and need to hear. And he's, just the original bass showman.
Yeah,
And so let's get
absolutely.
Larry Graham back out on stage.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Look, Jerry Jordan says, wow, I'm speechless to be mentioned among some of my bass
Oh,
heroes. What's up,
Jerry.
Jerry? So, Ashling, my friend, because
Yes.
this is not just some interview. This is my friend. This is the homie, and I've learned a lot from you as well. Any like final thoughts that you would share, like parting words of wisdom for the bass players watching and the bass players who will watch the replay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think I've ever said those words about a bass player studying a singer, but it's something that has it's always resonated with me that Jerry Jordan does. And there's other bass players that have done that. But leave your mark without erasing somebody else's.
Ooh.
Like come in and have your presence without having to step on somebody else and and erase their importance and their value in the sound. And that will take you far. Know when to step forward, know when to step back, know when to be subtle, know when to embellish, know what questions to ask, all those things, but really study your craft. The bass is just so important to the sound. It's so important to the sound, and we don't want to lose it to this digital era. So continue to, to study and continue to be your authentic self. Find your sound, and yeah, and your phone will keep ringing.
Ashling Cole, y'all. It's around. Wait a minute. 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 I've been waiting to do this. Where is it? I can't do it. I had the. Wait a minute. Here it is.
No, we're not hearing it.
It didn't. Wait a. You know what? Forget it. I'm gonna clap myself.
We didn't hear it. We didn't hear it.
I heard it, and you guys imagined it, so it's all good. Ashling,
That's
thank
so
you.
funny. And you know what? Let me say one more thing. I'm sure there's bass players that I didn't mention today, and charge it to my head and not my heart. We only had an hour. I have literally worked with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I don't know how many bass players. And so if I didn't mention you tonight, just know that I charge it to my head and not my heart.
Head, not the heart. Ashling Cole, y'all. We out of here as always. Peace, 2 fingers. Go follow Ashling on social media at Ashling Cole, and just Google her and follow all the things. We see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. CST. All right, y'all. Peace.
Thanks, Ted.